Chapter 16. I'm sorry you're not going, Martha said. She frowned at her reflection in the mirror and heard Connor coughing from his bed. Don't tell me you might miss me, he choked. No, I might need protection from Blake Chambers. I thought you didn't want protection from him. Martha glanced back over her shoulder. Don't laugh at me. Connor, it's not funny. Do I look like I'm laughing? Your face isn't laughing. Your voice is laughing. Then my voice must be in a better mood than the rest of me, he said wearily. It serves you right, and I don't feel a bit sorry for you. You should know better than to go around fixing shutters in the cold rain. Martha stole a glance at him and then adjusted her black shawl over her gypsy costume, trying to hide her cast. Oh, Connor, what do you think? Wind memes about the long dark. Connor shook his head, tilted it back, trying to breathe. For the 100th time, I don't know. Wynn can't remember, and it won't help to nag her about it. But it's Halloween, Martha looked pleading. What if Dennis really isn't dead? What if he comes back tonight and... She broke off, bit her lip. It could be him, you know. It could be anyone, Connor said. He flung an arm restlessly across his forehead. Look, you haven't gotten any more phone calls, have you? Martha shrugged and shook her head. No, but that still doesn't explain what happened that night at school. That wasn't an accident, but I keep trying to convince myself it was, or that maybe whoever chased me thought I was someone else. But I don't believe it. She gave a wry smile. And you're just trying to make me feel better, aren't you? You're worried, too. I'm too sick to be worried. Connor stared at her, at the desperation in her eyes. All right, I'm a little worried, he relented. So that's it. I'm going. He tried to push back the covers, but Martha stopped him. Look at you. You're so weak, you can't even climb out of bed, much less be my bodyguard. For the third time that evening, she took a really hard look at him and felt strangely uneasy. His face was like marble, and his eyes had a feverish brightness. His cheekbones jutted sharply beneath his skin, giving his face a ghostly sunkenness. She insisted he take his old room again because it was warmer, and then she'd piled blankets on him, but he was still shivering. Martha's lips moved. Her conscience fought a quick battle and lost. I can't stay here, Connor. Please, please understand. I can't stay in this house tonight. I'm just so scared. He turned his face from her. She thought his head moved in a nod. Connor, Martha's eyes filled with tears, and she wiped at them angrily. I'll be with Blake all evening, and then I'll spend the night at Wynn's. I'll leave her number in case you need me. I won't need you. Martha looked pleadingly at the back of his head. The damp hair tousled on the pillow. I can't, Connor. I just can't stay. Will you just leave then so I can get some sleep? You're just trying to make me feel guilty. I'm not trying to make you do anything except leave. Connor began coughing again, waving her weakly away. Go on, get out of here. Reluctantly, Martha nodded, started out the door. Martha, she spun around. Yes? Be careful, he said quietly, and she was glad she heard the car then, honking from the driveway. Without another word to Connor, she hurried downstairs and out the front door. Blake, hi! Martha lifted up her long skirt and dodged the puddles as best she could, trying to hold her shawl over both her cast and her head at the same time. Rain, rain, and more rain, and from the looks of those boiling clouds, there will be another bad storm tonight. Remind me to call Connor later, okay? He's really sick and... She broke off and stared. Blake had turned off the headlights, and inside of the car was dark. What light there was came from the weak glow of the porch light, barely trickling over the side of Blake's car. But something was in his window. Something hideous sat in the driver's seat and grinned at her friendlishly from the loose folds of a hooded cape. Blake, Martha stammered. What? I'm deaf, the thing said, and then it opened her door and beckoned. Climb on in. The black cape rustled, and one black draped arm slid around Martha's shoulders. On the contrary, I haven't lost a thing. I'm definitely a winner, and you know how I like to win. Funny, that's what Wynn said about him. Blake tapped her lightly on her cast. Hey, gypsy lady, how about a dance? Just keep him in line, Greg advised her. Put a curse on him if he gives you any trouble. Martha laughed as Blake pulled her to the dance floor. The music was ear-splitting and the bodies were pressed so closely together that it was hard to stay with one partner. It could be anyone. Martha's eyes probed the pulsating darkness, the orange jack-o'-lantern grins laughing from the corners. Anyone could be in here, hiding, watching her, waiting. Damn you, Connor, you said that just to ruin my evening. It could be anyone. Martha? Oh, Win, you scared me to death. Sorry, my clothes are so black. I kind of blend in, I guess. And no, I didn't recognize you, but I already saw Blake's costume. You made my costume, Blake corrected her. You made all our costumes. That's why they all look so much alike. They're wonderful costumes, Martha laughed. Win, get out of here, Blake said, still trying to dance in spite of the interruption. Win pointedly ignored him. How's Connor? Another pang of guilt. Martha pushed it firmly away. Actually, he's miserable, but it's good for him. Makes him more sympathetic to the human condition. Hey, you sound kind of tired. Are you okay? Maybe it's going around. Win brushed her off. Anyway, I was up all night and all today decorating this stupid place. I'll be glad when Halloween's over. Something in Win's tone alerted Martha, the words that hadn't been spoken aloud. Halloween and the shadow of the tragedy. Martha reached out for her friend's hand. Why don't you come sit with us? I don't believe this. Blake stopped dancing. If I'd have known you two wanted to come together. I can't. Somewhere beneath the green witch face, Win smiled. I'm too busy pouring punch and keeping the trays filled to visit. But stop by the table sometime. Yeah, we'll be sure to do that, Blake nodded vigorously. Every chance we get, in fact. Win punched him on the shoulder and started back to her post. How did you ever end up with someone nice like Martha? Blake let the remark pass as he grabbed Martha to finish the dance. By the time 5 more numbers were over, Martha was begging for a respite. So Blake led her back to their table and they sat down. God, this thing is hot. He pulled his mask out a little ways from his face, fanning himself. Take it off for a while, why don't you? What? And blow my disguise? What I'm really wondering about is eating with this thing on. You hungry? Starved. Blake nodded, fixing the death face into place. Rest that arm. I'll be back in a second. Martha waved and leaned back in her chair, allowing herself a long, luxurious stretch. It suddenly came to her that she was really enjoying herself, that she wasn't worrying, and that she couldn't even remember a night anymore when she hadn't been afraid. Maybe this whole thing had been blown out of proportion after all, and it really was just a prank, someone playing a sick joke, and Dennis had really died a year ago, and the calls and the awful fears, all just unfortunate coincidences. She believed that could happen, that it did happen, and maybe it was time to start accepting that she'd just been an innocent victim. Story of my life, Martha Stevenson in the wrong place at the wrong time. Having come to some kind of resolution at last, Martha smiled and stretched again, letting her eyes wander lazily over the dancing shadows on the floor. The fiendish orange grins throwing bizarre shapes on the walls. Martha! Oh, Win, you scared me again. You've got to stop sneaking on me like that. Martha! Oh, God, Martha, he's back! The hands on her arm were clamped so tightly that Martha winced. She struggled to turn her chair, and the green witch face was twisted in fear, the mascara-ringed eyes nearly bulging from Win's head. What? Martha repeated dumbly. What did you? Dennis, Win whimpered. I saw him, Martha. I saw Dennis. The blood froze in Martha's veins. She looked down stupidly at Win's fingers, cutting into her arm, up at Win's horrified features. Oh my God, are you sure? Are you? In the crowd, Win's voice sank to a terrified whisper. I looked up. He was standing there, just standing there watching me. Martha's mind wouldn't work. She pulled on Win's hands. Her words jumbled and slow. Are you positive? How could it be? It can't be it. I don't know how long he'd been standing there, but when I realized I'd seen him, it just disappeared. She gave Martha a shake. Martha, he could be anywhere. Why is he here, Martha? He's dead. Why is he here? Win, calm down. Let's find Blake. Oh, God, what am I going to do? Win turned from side to side. All reason surrendered to panic, and Martha grabbed her by the shoulders. Win, we've got to find Blake and Greg. Just calm down. Where are they? Hurry, Martha. Blake went to get us some food. Didn't you see him? Win shook her head mindlessly. No, I didn't see anyone. Just Dennis. Come on. Steering Win firmly in front of her, Martha threaded her way through the grotesque throng, craning her neck, trying to spot Blake. Finding anyone was hopeless in this mess. She realized with a sinking feeling, and already Win was cold to the touch. How much more, Martha wondered, how much more of this can she take? She thought of yelling, but the music was so loud, she could barely hear herself think. It could be anyone. Win stumbled and Martha righted her again before they both fell. Where was Blake and Greg? In this awful throbbing darkness, all the ghoulish faces looked alike, evil and deadly. It can't be Dennis. It's impossible. Oh, God, he's not dead. I'm going to be sick, Wynn mumbled, and Martha barely caught the words before she felt the heaving of Wynn's body. Go on into the bathroom, Martha gave her a push. You'll be safe in there. I'll try to find Blake and Greg. Come with me. No, Wynn. We've got to find the boys. We've got to get some help. Wynn nodded, her hand clamped over her mouth, and Martha watched her staggering drunkenly through the mob, disappearing at last down the hall that led to the restrooms. She felt like she was trapped in a snake pit, an insane asylum, the worst kind of nightmare. On every side of her, demonic faces laughed and leered, pinning her in, blocking her escape. Blake! She cupped her hands around her mouth and shouted, feeling foolish, knowing it was useless. The faces still laughed, mocking her. She shoved her way through them, elbowing people aside. If Dennis is here, then he's after me. I'm the one he wants. I'm the one he's wanted all along. From the farthest corner of her brain, she heard her name being called. But still it didn't register at first. And when it finally sank in, there was only the briefest flash of hope that it was Blake, until slowly she realized that it was the lead singer of the band. The singer interrupting the song, nodding at a masked figure near the stage, and sang again into the microphone, Martha Stevenson! Martha Stevenson! Hey, Martha, you got a phone call in the locker rooms. Martha Stevenson! A general chorus of catcalls and whistles followed her as she ran, and then she was stumbling into the back room and grabbing the receiver from the bored chaperone, who used that opportunity to escape for refreshments. Hello, she gasped. Hello, this is Martha. And he laughed. He laughed and he laughed, even though the effort left him breathless, and the laugh was quiet and horrible and smug, while Martha screamed into the phone, You leave me alone, whoever you are! Do you hear me? There's no one home, Elizabeth, he said. It's Halloween, and they're all dead. My God, no! What have you done to Connor? What have you done to him? Trick or treat, Elizabeth, the voice whispered. It wasn't laughing anymore.